This is Daniel Behrens. Today is my 21st birthday. The date is March 26, 2021. If this gets into the hand of the authorities, please let them know to play this at my funeral. Today I'm giving myself 12 hours to decide if life is worth living or not. I'll be doing some of the few things I still enjoy. And if I don't have some kind of major revelation, I'm prepared to take my own life. And that's all you need to know. I spent a lot of money on this camera and on a cameraman I hired to document my experience. This is where I spend most of my time.
Who's that?
Allen Ginsberg. I always wanted to be a poet. I like the idea of it anyway, I think. I've seen this movie a lot, but I don't know. I really like it. I remember it was one of the first R-rated movies I ever watched. I think it changed my life. I don't know. You worried?
About what?
I could kill us both right now.
Are you alright?
Come here. This is done. I'm sorry, man. I made up my mind. You can leave now. Turn it off. Hey, what are you doing?
I'm really not trying to tell you what to do or anything. But I brought you this.
Eli Manning? Thanks.
It's a little used, sorry. Keep looking though. Didn't you say you were always curious?
You remembered? Yeah, but
Well, I'll be able to calm you down. You can have a good trip. So that was a film I made last year in school called 12 Hours. I really wanted to make something in the style of an amateur documentary.
mainly because, unfortunately we weren't allowed to have a crew that semester due to COVID restrictions. So I had to do the lighting, the sound, the camera on my own. And I wanted to have an excuse for not to have the most professional or stylistic camera, lighting, or sound. But mainly I was really inspired by the opportunity to create something where the camera is a character. The camera movements are character movements and reveal something about character that was deeply inspiring to me. And also, you don't usually see narrative kind of documentaries done in the style of drama. You usually see comedy done in that way, like What We Do in the Shadows or The Office, stuff like that. You usually don't see stuff too dramatic done in that way. But I had this really interesting idea about having a film about someone's last hours and them documenting potentially what could be their last hours before they, kill themselves. I've dealt a lot with suicide in my work, partly because it's a good dramatic element, but mostly because there's something really tragic about this totally human problem about wanting to remove yourself from consciousness, feeling so out of place, feeling so hurt that you can't stand any more experience. And what's more tragic than that, really? So I don't mean to say I use it as purely as a dramatic element, but there was this inspiring thing of for what could save that, and documenting that. So this film is mainly about how connection, how someone giving their time, how someone giving their kindness could save someone's life. It's really not about psychedelics per se. I include that in the film partly because I'm really interested in that. I love hearing about psychedelic experiences, but I needed something to radically change the main character's worldview. In a quick amount of time, this film needed to be under 10 minutes. So, I had the idea of, having him take psychedelics, and usually that radically changes one's view of oneself in the universe and one's view of their relation to the environment. So it's mainly about that switch, that change from someone who's suicidally depressed to someone who has hope in the world, and that comes from the cameraman's decision to return at the end and give his presence, give his gifts in the form of the stuffed animal, the tab of acid. But what really saved his life was the kindness from the cameraman, not the psychedelics. I mean, I indicated that he's having a good trip, and maybe he's going to use psychedelics in the future and use that in his journey, but I really wanted to reflect how this kindness can save someone's life. So hopefully I reflected that, and hopefully I brought something of value into the world. So thank you. I also wanted to talk about the ending, the fade to white and the smoke. I really wanted to symbolize a death and a rebirth, not necessarily in the literal sense, although any interpretation is valid, and I didn't create this with a concrete explanation in mind. Someone in my class got from it that they actually died. And I'd say that I don't have that interpretation. I have the interpretation of a death of a sense of self, of his previous sense of self, of his sense of self and his attachment to this idea that he's, not worth his space in the world. And I wanted to show that part of him dying, and the part of him that has hope, part of him that feels connection with this world, that feels love. That part of him is born, and the part of him that hates himself and wants to kill himself is no more. I mean, we all have these struggles, and these struggles will continue, but we don't have to be attached to that identity, So that's what I wanted to get across with that Fade to White. That wasn't the original ending. I really didn't have a set ending, but I got that shot when I was just, had some downtime. I got that shot of the window, which was overexposed, which looked like white, and then I sort of panned down into the smoke. And I really love smoke. I really love that. It's a sense of like true freedom in nature and the Tao, and just unique and perfect. So I love smoke. So that's why part of the reason I included that in the end. So yeah, thank you.
Early sun and the biggest sky, briefest hills that I have ever seen. These old stone